Hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. I'm excited because we are moving into a new season, but also we're actually going to be moving into a new quarter, which is why I wanted to bring on Mary Meduna-Gross, and she is a well-being coach, an executive well-being coach about maybe some of the things that we can do that we need to let go of. You know how we go into our closets and we let go of things. Maybe there's some routines and habits because I know a lot of you probably beginning of the year said, hey, I want to be healthy in 2024. So, Mary, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So, before we get into the things we probably need to let go of, but also embrace in regards to habits and routines, what made you decide you wanted to be an executive well being coach?
That was really interesting. I did not see that coming. In my head, and I was very driven by my head. I was a leadership. That was my area of expertise. I saw myself as a leadership coach, but through my own experience of leadership, so I got burned out in the process. Right before I had to figure out how do I make this work. Right, I burned out, and so from my experience, to me, well-being and leadership are two sides of the same coin. We cannot separate the two. And but when we talk about leadership, we have this cultural thing of that means I'm going to do something to somebody else to make an outcome happen. And the kind of leadership we're talking about that comes from a sense of well-being is not the command and control leadership. And so it's a very different kind of what might be defined as conscious leadership. And we could talk more about that. But I think that shift of instead of that command and control, how do we collaborate with one another in a way that amplifies all of our gifts?
And I like the way you said that. And that kind of takes me into my first question because a lot of times when I'm doing webinars in a corporate setting, and and I always ask this one question. I said, so who here takes a lunch and a break? And then like
Yeah.
people are like, what is this? I don't know what this is. So what are some of those maybe routines and habits as a leader? Because we are leading people and really people follow us. It's like, okay, if they're not taking a lunch and a break, I don't want to take a lunch and a break because then that'll make me feel like I'm not part of the team. So what are some of the things because
Hmm.
we're going in, like I said, a new season, but
Right.
also, we're ending a quarter, going into the second quarter. So what are some things we just need to like just stop?
Well, I think the first thing I would just bring everyone's attention to is the difference between doing and being. And we don't have a lot of language around that, so it's sometimes it's hard to communicate that. But just in your example, what are we doing, right? When the leader's not taking lunch, what is that doing? All of our doing, think about a tree, right? So all of the doing is the leaves of the tree. What's feeding that? The trunk, right? The trunk are our emotions, and the root that's feeding the whole plant is our beliefs about ourselves. So everything we do that shows up in our leaves is a result of what we believe about ourselves. And most of the time, what we're doing is we're going around. We got all these painful leaves, right? And so we're looking for what is going to fix this pain, right? I need a solution from outside of me to fix this, right? That core belief. And so I've got to, and so that puts us into the state of burnout because there will never be enough shiny objects, enough spa days to fill the pain that we have inside. That is in our roots. And so the letting go of is really how do we get past what we're doing, even get past what we're feeling, down to what is it that I believe about myself that would suggest as a leader that lunch isn't valuable? Do I have rules about work time versus personal time? Do I have rules about work hard, play hard, but mostly just work hard? Right? Think about so many of these cultural kinds of isms that we have that we don't even question that set us up for, right? So let's just use that example of we don't have lunch. So if I believe I don't have time for lunch, then I'm not going to have the energy I need to do my work. And so now I got more pain leaves up here and that's going to feel really crappy, this trunk. And now I'm in the state of stuckness because I have pain. I don't know what to do with it. And everything that I'm trying to do outside of me isn't resolving this.
And Mary, when you were talking, it kind of like took me back
Okay.
to a time when I'll never forget. I'm in the bed. It was like about 9:30 at night. And I
Mhm.
looked over and someone I reported to was calling me 9:30
Okay.
at night. And there would have been a time when I would have answered the phone, answered the
Mhm.
call.
Mhm.
I looked at it, I said, first of all, because I knew what my position and roles and responsibilities, I'm an outside contractor, so it wasn't like I could do a lot. And I said, there's nothing I can do right now. I'm not in the office.
Good
I
for
don't
you.
have access. So I just let it go. I let it go on the voicemail. I listened to the voicemail just to make sure it wasn't like urgent. But after that, I responded when I went back on site. So
Yes.
you're right. You're right. And then also yesterday, I was doing something about time and someone said, well, my solution would be 24 more hours. I says, no, your solution is
Mhm.
not more 24 hours because then you're going to start to put more
Fill
stuff
that up
in.
too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we don't
wow.
need more time. We just need to we need to examine our rules about time, our stories about time. This is something I've really been working with myself. This idea that there's work time and then there's personal time, and that I don't take calls. I don't do anything during personal time, but during work time, I don't do anything personal either. Right. And that really puts us into a box. Like I can only do this and I can only do that. I found myself arguing with myself, taking my dog for a walk last summer. It was the middle of the day. What are you doing? Taking the dog for a walk. And I had to remind myself, going back to these beliefs again, Mary, you became an entrepreneur, so you didn't have to do a 9 to 5. You wanted to live and work together. This is the living part. Embrace it.
And you're right. And you're right because I had a webinar that started at 8:30 p.m. my time because of what time it was where they
Okay.
were. And people were like, wow, you're full of energy. And I said, you know
Mhm.
why? Janet took a nap. I
That's
said,
right.
they were like, you took a, I said, yeah, and you're right. Sometimes you have to change your mindset. It's like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be napping during the middle of the day. But I was like, if I don't nap, I know
Yes.
Mary by the time, well, usually sometimes by like 7:30, I'm like, okay, you know what? Where's my pajamas?
Me too. Yes.
So, so what are some things that we can incorporate? Whether we're an entrepreneur, whether we've got that career, and
Yeah.
even sometimes women who just manage households. Like,
Yes,
what
of
are some
course.
things that we can do that really embrace well-being, but also sometimes maybe just change, like, hey, it's okay to take a nap. It's okay to
Yes.
walk your dog. It's okay
Yes.
to take the lunch, the break.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it really all starts with actually listening to that voice in our head. Most of us really just want to get that darn thing to shut up. I really encourage my clients to start to tune into it because that is the voice that is draining your energy. It's not your voice. It is a recording of all of the messages that you've ever heard. It sounds like you, right? It feels like it's coming from you, but it's not. It's just a recording. And it is your nervous system's way of keeping you safe, right? This is what kept you safe in the past, and we're sticking with that rule. So the first thing I recommend to anyone is just start listening to it. Now, I immediately want to say that many of us find that, holy crap, that voice is absolutely abusive. And I do not mean that lightly. I am not joking about this. That voice can be literally abusive. And so what do you do with that? Right? We can't just keep shutting it off because the more we try to shut it off, the louder it's going to get and the noisier it's going to get. So this is where grace and compassion for ourselves has to be first and foremost. Has to be. If you're not willing to do that, then don't start listening. Just keep doing what you're doing. But if what you're doing isn't working for you anymore and you know it, but you don't know what else to do, start listening, because what that voice is going to do is reflect all of the roots that you have, all the rules you have about how you should be living and how everybody else should be too, but mostly how you should be living. And so you look out onto your experience and say, well, is that matching what my rules are? And if it's not, then we try to manipulate the outside world to get it to match, right? So that I don't have to feel this pain anymore. So whenever we have something outside of us that we're not happy with, there's a part of us that is hurting that needs attention. So tune into that voice, give yourself grace and compassion, because again, as when you start to listen to that voice and you give yourself that grace and compassion and all of the emotions that were present when these rules were getting created can move through you. And until that energy moves through you, it will be with you until you allow it to move through you. So again, you can do it now or you can do it later, whenever you want to do it, whenever you're ready. But you got to allow that to move through. And I promise you that when that moves through, that voice now will become your champion. This literally happened for me about a year ago. I've been working with my inner voice for some time, but it was still not being very friendly to me. The abuse had stopped, but it wasn't friendly. I was washing dishes. It was about a year ago, and it was again middle of the day, where usually that voice would be saying, you got other things to do. You're just procrastinating. You're just putting things off. This time, the voice said, use my name, Mary. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing in this moment. I literally turned around. I heard a voice. Like, holy crap! We can talk to ourselves like that. I want more of that, please. So that voice is capable of championing, of cheerleading, of encouraging, of loving. It doesn't have to come from the outside. We can do it from the inside. And once that aha came to me, it was like, I don't ever have to look outside of me anymore. I know where I can find love. Now that I have it within me, now I'm able to share it with others, because before we're all defensive because we're holding on to things that hurt. And when we don't want anyone else to get too close or to hit these triggers, right? Please don't hit my triggers. I just got them to quiet down, right? And so we're defensive, and that means we block people out. As much as we keep ourselves from being hurt, we're also leaving people out. And so when that voice, now we're able to start to listen to ourselves. Now we can start to listen to others.
And you're right. You're so right. I think the voice for me one day it was just so stressful. You know how sometimes you're just doing one fire after another, and then it's like 10, 11 o'clock and you feel like exhausted. And I was like, take a walk.
Yes.
Take a walk. Put your sneakers on. I'm thinking, but it's like 10:30 in the morning. And you know what? Now I do that because when I come back, Mary, I am so refreshed, rejuvenated. It's like I can take the rest of the day just going outside, seeing the trees, seeing the sun.
Yeah.
So you're right.
I love that. Because one of the things that I hear in that example, because the other thing that I hear from people is, well, I don't know which voice to listen to. It's none of it is you. So look at it as if you're watching a TV show, right? This is what's happening. But what I heard in your example of, again, going out 10:30, walking, you were listening to your inner guide that said, hey, Janet, go out for a walk. And you listen to that intuition. So when people ask me, well, I don't know what voice to listen to, if it is critical, it's your ego and it's trying to protect you from something. If it's loving, it is your higher self. It is that higher part of you. Follow it. Tune into that. Say, thank you. Give me more of this. One of my favorite things to ask myself now in the morning of my higher self is, give me numerous examples today that I am loved. Janet, those are my best days. Because guess what I find all day long?
Love, and love.
I find love everywhere. And what I noticed, and I can't think of what the particular example was, but it was one of those daily kind of things. Obviously, I can't even remember what it was. And I had asked, show me evidence that I'm loved. And all of a sudden that little voice said, there it is. There's another example. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally would have missed that. Because it's just part of the daily routine. I wouldn't have even noticed that. So I love asking myself that question so that I look for it. And then I got that higher guide part of me just nudging me and saying, there it is. Look over here.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Well, those watching and listening, I hope not only do you watch this interview again, but also share it with a friend. So,
Yes,
Mary, this is a question I ask all guests. So, how do you stay organized, whether it's your time, whether it's your space, whether it's your life? Like, what is like that one or two strategies that really help you just, stay focused?
I think I give myself time. So I give myself time every morning, at least an hour with no obligations. None. First thing in the morning. So I do my exercise thing first thing in the morning, walk the dog, and then I have an hour where I can do whatever I want. And Fridays, the other thing I do for business is on Fridays, I join a group, what's called Action Planner. And it's just the facilitator walks us through the agenda of planning for our week. I know what the agenda is, right? I don't need to be there for it, but we're all there together. We're putting that time aside. I know every week on Monday morning exactly what my priorities are, because and I've also blocked off, if these are my 3 priorities, when am I going to do it in the week? Because before I started this action planner on Fridays, I just say, yeah, these are 3 things I want to get done, and then realize I never set aside time for that. So what are the priorities? Go to my calendar, make sure I have time in there that I'm actually going to do these things. And then every week is like, yeah, look at me. I just nailed my 3 priorities this week. And it has really helped me feel like I'm got this momentum going where just stay in the motion, right? Inertia is the worst thing in the world. Just staying in motion stays in motion. So giving myself time for myself in the mornings, and then on Fridays for planning.
Mm. And that is like powerful because that helps you continue to do what you want to do, not only in your business and for your clients, but also for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So, those watching and listening, time for yourself. I love it because I have my time for myself in the morning too. Like you said, to exercise. I like to listen to certain types of music. I like to
Hmm.
read. And that's just it's like my foundation for actually starting my day because I'm giving to myself.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Mary, how can people connect with you?
Well, I think the easiest, there are 2 ways. My website is plenavita.coach, PLENAVITA.coach. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Mary Meduna-Gross. I don't think there are any others out there.
That's
I would
true.
love to connect.
And
I really, I'm on a mission to elevate well-being on this planet one leader at a time. And so if you're a leader and you're not feeling that well-being, you're not being your best, I can help.
wonderful. And of course, I will have all of her information, how you can connect with her directly on the show page. Well, Mary, thank you so much for taking time
This
out
is
of your
wonderful.
schedule just to be here today.
This is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for creating this space.